Have you ever bought something online? I know it sounds almost like a rhetorical question. Almost everyone we know has bought something on the internet. That's the new way to shop. Whether it is food or clothes or furniture, even a car or a house. But what is the first thing that most of us do before we buy something on the worldwide net? We check the reviews. If they are good, it's a no-brainer. We hit the buy button. If the reviews are bad, the product is clearly deleted from our carts. Sometimes there are no reviews, and honestly, that is a gamble we take. But have you ever wondered where these reviews come from? Now, you would imagine that these are genuine customers who are giving their fair point of view on any product. But that's the problem. This isn't a fair world, and obviously not all reviews are real. Almost 4% of all online reviews are in fact fake. These reviews have almost affected some 3.8 trillion of e-commerce spending in 1 year. When it comes to e-commerce businesses, it has impacted them directly, costing at least 152 billion. Now today, the Indian government has issued very strict guidelines to guide people against fake reviews of products. The guidelines are meant for not just e-commerce entities, but also for all those who are writing these reviews. E-commerce companies and eateries will have to ensure that the online reviews of their products and services are genuine and that their authors are verifiable. The idea is to curb unfair trading practices. In fact, fake reviews may land online vendors in consumer courts. So how exactly do these fake reviews work? Well, review companies usually deploy an army of testers. These people then post 4- and 5-star reviews on e-tailer platforms. First, these testers have to buy the product to get the verified buyer tag on their accounts. Then review companies reimburse them for the cost of the product they bought and also pay them a small fee in return for a review, usually a very good one. It may sound alien, but this is a booming business. And clearly a lot is at stake. The better the reviews, the more people will buy your products, and the more the sales and more you make money. So next time, ladies and gentlemen, remember, when you see a review, don't just blindly go with it. There's an entire business that goes into getting these reviews on websites and getting you to see these reviews. Let me quickly go across to our guests this evening who are joining us for a short discussion on how we should understand whether a review is fake or not, and why most e-retailers feel the need for these fake reviews. Ganesh is promoter of Bigbasket and Protea Medical Services. He's joining us on the broadcast. Deepak Sahani is founder and CEO of Healthians, again with us. And Shri Parthasarthi is a senior leader, business strategy and technology. Professor Shriram Khanna is managing editor, Consumer Voice magazine. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the broadcast. Let me start by K. Ganesh. Mr. Ganesh, as someone who understands the business well, does it come as any shock to you that the government has now had to step in to, I wonder whether they can completely do away with fake reviews. Their guidelines can completely do away with fake reviews, but at least to restrict them. Do you feel that the government guidelines that have been issued will help? Or will e-retailers find another way?
Yeah. So, no, this is a very interesting development. Given the way platforms, e-commerce marketplaces are exploding, and over the next 5 to 10 years, there is substantially going to be large volume transacted here. It's imperative that the government takes steps to protect the consumer interests. So, because here, everything is on the net. You don't see the seller, you don't see the platform, you don't have an address to go to and complain and shout and get your refunds back and all of that stuff. Given that, creating trust in e-commerce purchases for the consumer is done through the reviews. Therefore, they need to clearly step in, form guidelines, encourage. Right now, it's not mandatory. They are only encouraging, which is good. They need to do that. Why the e-commerce platforms need the reviews is because that is what will convince the consumer who comes to their site to actually make the purchase, develop the trust. Otherwise, the consumer will walk away and go to some other site or go to physical stores. They do need the reviews. As a consumer, obviously the fake reviews is a problem. I'm frankly surprised by 4%. I think it's a low number. The actual number of fake reviews will be large. So what are these fake reviews for? One is actually the person has not used the product, has not purchased the product. Like you mentioned, I received some incentive to be able to write. Or he's a biased party, he's friend or part of the family of the seller, and therefore he's putting it up. Or the other way the platform does, or even the seller does, is they suppress negative reviews. So it's not a fake review, but it is not a balanced review because only the positive reviews are allowed to remain, and the wrong ones are actually suppressed by this. And fake people doing it, people who are not even purchased, who are just bots of people or army of people sitting in Jumri Thalaya or somewhere, are actually churning out reviews. So all these kinds of reviews are there. Now the problem, interesting problem that comes is, how does companies enforce it? And right now the pressure seems to be on the platform to ensure. But the seller may be resorting to the fake review in order to push his product on the platform. What can a platform do? It's almost like saying, asking the mall owner to guarantee and to take responsibility for what a shop in the mall is selling, whether he's selling the right good or a fake good. Mall owner cannot do that. So that's a challenge. But having said that, on the overall basis, for government to step in and form a thing is very important. I'm looking forward 5-10 years later, this will become a massive mammoth problem, and lack of trust on platforms will kill the entire sector if it's not addressed right at the beginning. So good move, tough to implement.
But I understand. But I understand why, companies that are e-retailing are investing in fake online reviews. I mean, look at the numbers. Fake online reviews had an influence of almost $152 billion on global online spending. That is a huge amount of money. And you're right when you say that it's not just that the rosy reviews come, and maybe it's not just 4%, it's much more. Our research tells us it's 4%, but who really knows? The fact is that all the negative reviews, Sri Parthasarthi, are actually buried somewhere down under. You have to scroll through 300 reviews, good reviews, to get to a bad one. And now we are being told that more than 4% of those 300 good reviews are actually fake. Who do we trust?
I would say, adding on to what Mr. Ganesh said, I think fake reviews have two perspectives, right? In terms of both the positive and the negative. Sometimes the negatives can also come from a competitive landscape where they're trying to push down a particular competitor from that aspect. So we need to keep that also into consideration. So one of the things that happens in online retail or any of these particular platforms, whenever a review happens, some of them are non-registered users, in which particular case they can only review what you call as the experience of navigation. If they are registered users and if they actually have bought the product, they can review the product itself from an overall perspective. And even what you said earlier in terms of essentially people buying and essentially these people being engaged, these are influencers. And if you really track this entire strategy, you will notice that essentially when you go back to the customer platform or the marketplace and you do the analytics on this, you will see traditional set of users. So essentially, I think what the government has moved towards enhancing the Consumer Protection Act of 2019 is to further protect consumers, because after COVID, I think we have further accelerated into this entire online marketing, online selling, and so consumers significantly depend on this kind of marketplace to buy. So from that aspect, I think one of the things that happens in a review is when the review happens, it goes into moderation. Once the moderation happens, there has to be a clear there has to be a clear chain of custody or integrity of the data in terms of where that particular feedback came, and if they are not publishing it, why are they not publishing it, and if they are publishing it, as to how they basically manage it, and then finally it goes into publishing. So it should be the responsibility not only of the marketplace, but also the sellers in terms of ensuring this. The marketplace cannot essentially absolve itself from saying that, hey, I do not have a view of this, because marketplace is also making money out of this because of every transaction. So I think when you really look at it in terms of fake reviews, you have to look at it end to end and essentially look at the integrity of the data itself and the feedback mechanism. And all of this essentially today in today's world every piece of data in terms of navigation, every piece of information about the email or whatever are the registered users, all of that are tracked. So from a perspective overall, every experience can be measured, and then finally it can also be integrated into their internal systems in terms of sales, returns, and all of that. So I think there's no way out for the seller and the marketplaces. I think they have to have the responsibility of providing this information or actually managing this information and providing that particular, as Mr. Ganesh said, the trust to the end customer to say that whatever product you are buying will actually delight you, and whatever is advertised is what you're actually buying.
But Deepak Sahani, there's another, there's another side to the argument. You can easily make the argument, even if I don't take, take the data that we are putting out, that 4% of the reviews are fake, and maybe it's more, as K. Ganesh says, possibly 10%, possibly 20%. The argument can be that what about the rest 80%? The 80% reviews are not fake, which means you can't entirely discredit the product or the system of giving reviews. A, that. And B, how is a fake review different from advertising then? This is in another way advertising your product and saying, hey, it's a good product, buy it, and you're paying someone for that advertising. In this case, not an advertising agency, but an influencer or other people who are using the product.
Sure. So Shreya, absolutely right. I think if we really look at the percentage, definitely is much higher. I think even 30-40% in some cases, depending upon, because see, from the virtue of the reviews, if you really realize, the consumer behavior also is, if you have something bad happen with you, you would go and write it very fast. And if something good happens to you, you don't write it, right? And that's why the negative reviews are always higher than the positive reviews. And some of these companies are getting into activities of actually balancing it out, right? So one is obviously the responsibility lies on everybody else, that when we are giving a review, we should basically, what we are trying to do is help other users know how our experiences are. And to help businesses, we should write review when we are finding that business to be a good business as well. I have seen many companies getting into an incentivizing program, but they reach out to real consumers to incentivize them, to tell them that please write it for us if you like it. And this is like very old. If you really look at the starter of this was basically a company called TripAdvisor, right? Which is a common platform. Now, a lot of such platform already have a lot of technical activities. If you go on TripAdvisor and you've not stayed in a hotel, but you're writing a review, they will delete your review because they have a process of finding out if you stayed there or not, because they ask you for a bill, they ask you for many other things that you have to post in. Today, if you go on Google and try to write a fake reviews continuously, Google will start deleting those particular reviews because they know the IP address it is coming from, the behavior, the content, who's writing it, what is the frequency. They also check in the last 10 days, you only got one review, and immediately today you have 10 more new reviews. So they track everything. There are platforms, and technologically this has been already handled, right? But when it comes to marketplaces that we are talking about, where the purchase decisions has to be there, and it is a closed environment, there's nobody from outside watching it, there the chances of having a fake reviews are very, very high. And there it needs to get curbed by such laws that the BIS is trying to create, or such standards that needs to be created, that who's the author, what is the authentication method of that particular author who's writing it, so that we know that it's not a competition, but it's a genuine buyer. And at the same time, who's validating that, and what's the process of validating it to make sure that it's not a purchased or a paid review, it's actually a genuine customer writing it. At the same time, there has to be more of education to the consumers to write review, even if they like the product or they dislike the product. Coming to your second question, that should it be considered as to be advertising? Today, I think the advertising is completely moving on influencers, completely moving on this side of the world where you want people to speak about it. And you've been hiring you've been paying a small amount to post an Instagram post. You're having celebrities endorsing your product all around. And the celebrities who have not even used your product is endorsing that product overline, and somebody is buying that. So this is all advertising is happening. I think consumer also is somewhat aware. If you ask me specifically, I do not really in one go decide everything on the basis of review, because at the back of my mind, I always think this is not right. And when I see everything positive, I usually does not tend to probably incline towards that product. So somebody who's technically known would probably not go just for those reviews, but a lot of people who go in for first time to these particular things depends upon those review and decide to make that purchase decision. So it definitely influence, but we call
So,
it
so
as
that's a red flag. So that's a red flag.
it is.
So that's
it
a
is.
red flag you're saying. If you see too many good reviews, if you see too
Absolutely.
many good reviews, probably they are fake. And as I said, you scroll through 300 reviews, good reviews, and then you get to the bad one. But look at all the decisions we are making, Sriram Khanna, on the basis of these reviews. If we want to go out, eat at a restaurant, what do? We immediately will Google, see how many stars it has, what people are saying about it. In good faith, most of us think the reviews are genuine. Whether we are buying consumer durables, again, same thing. Google what the rating of the products is, what people are saying, then go to it. Travel, very, very important. When we are booking airlines, when we are booking our hotels, when we are deciding where we want to go to travel, the first thing we are doing is looking at reviews. Do you think what Mr. Sani said, that there are already checks in place? Then why did the government need to step in, is the question.
See, I don't believe that there are too many checks in place. Merely because when there is a commercial interest, the party which is selling a goods or service is desperate to make profit, because that's what their business is. And they can't say, acha chalo, profit nahi hoga, it's all right. No, they are desperate for profit and they will do anything. Why do you think crores of rupees are spent on advertising to promote sales? So reviews, fake reviews have become another form of paid advertising, where instead of putting an ad in the newspapers, they hire
Correct.
people to write good things about them and they project those good things. If Mr. Mahendra Singh Dhoni had not promoted Amrapali builders, thousands of people would not have come to believe that this is a good builder. All of them are in the soup today. So what if there's a misleading advertisement? A fake review is also a misleading advertisement. And firstly, you should know it is an advertisement, that it is sponsored, somebody is paying for it. And secondly, if it is being paid, the chances are that it is not likely to be honest and truthful. So the consumer has a right to know. And on that basis, I welcome these standards created by BIS. And I would also like to see these standards become mandatory for all commercial activity online. Why should a consumer part with his hard-earned money based on false statements written by people who have been paid to make those statements? They should be held accountable. In the same way as a wrong brand ambassador makes a wrong statement on advertising, there's a penalty under the Consumer Protection Act. And I would also like to see a penalty on such false reviews. Today it is voluntary because the government is just putting its foot into the water to see whether the trade will accept it or not. And I do believe it is required. It should be implemented. Let there be a voluntary movement for the next few months. And then based on what is the progress on this implementation, then let it be made mandatory. Because in my belief, in our country, bhai bin preet na koi. If there is no fear, nobody follows a rule or a regulation. So I welcome these guidelines. This standard is welcome. The BI has done a great job, and I congratulate the Ministry of Consumer Affairs for initiating a move in this direction. Yes.
Okay, K. Ganesh, I'm going to end with you. You started by saying
Hello?
that fake reviews are going to end up becoming, Mr. Ganesh, if you can hear me, you started by saying that fake reviews can end up becoming a massive, massive problem for online businesses. But given the way most people are now advertising via influencers, again, I ask you the question as I end this show, isn't that fake review? An influencer telling you, using a product, saying how fabulous it is, isn't that advertising as well? And by restricting these fake reviews, by cancelling out these fake reviews, are you cancelling out what is now a form of advertising?
No, absolutely not. The line and distinction is very clear. When Shah Rukh Khan drives an i20 Hyundai and says that i20 Hyundai is good, nobody, not even a naive person, believes that Shah Rukh Khan is actually driving is using i20 and is based on actual usage of the product. Unfortunately, reviews are seen as actual user reviews. The two are very distinctly different. Influencer comes somewhere in between, more closer to advertiser. when Deepika Padukone or somebody says that, is that like Kapil Dev said, I use palm olive shaving cream, we know that he's being paid, he's a celebrity, it's for brand recall that is being done. Here it's completely different. Here, when you see 100 reviews, you are actually expecting, a normal user will expect that these are actual people who are using it. This is peer-to-peer recommendation, because in social media in today's world, people rely a lot more on peer group pressure. Now, when the peer group recommendation, if the peer group recommendation, common man recommendation, your friend circle recommendation happens to be not true, that is not known. All of us know Shah Rukh Khan got money for the Hyundai ad. We know that Dhoni got money for Amrapali ad. But we do not know the same thing about fake reviews. So therefore, it's very, very distinctly different. But it's not all bad. There is a law of numbers. When you go to a site and see 1,000 reviews, the percentage of fake reviews will not matter, because you have got overall rating of 1,000. As the industry sector expands, the more number of reviews come to that. I will tell you, as a consumer, how do I protect myself? One, I see if there are only 10 reviews on a product or a site, I don't take that, because that could be 8 out of 10 could be fake. But if there are 500 reviews of a particular product or a place, I know that 400 cannot be fake. So I have enough. That's one. Two, I also see the recency. How many recent people? If you go to Google review, it'll also tell you, sometimes local guides put the thing. You look at the name of the people. If you are genuine name of the people, proper people, not Ganesh 8024. Okay, right? Those are fake reviews. So you can do all that. But I think eventually law of numbers will catch up. Large number of venues, people will not be able to fake it and prove it. So I am very confident, but definitely a move in the right direction needs to be done sooner than later, so that we are able to protect the consumer, especially not so tech-savvy consumers who can be misled by this.
Can I add one other point?
This has been a very interesting chat.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
So,
go ahead. I have 20 seconds, but go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that you need to keep in mind is this is not only about the online marketplaces, right? This is also about brick and mortar, where essentially this kind of influencing happens. So I think it has to apply uniformly across. And the second point, essentially, in terms of who do you basically actually litigate against? For example, today, influencers, everybody assumes that they are people, but there are bots, and with AI, ML, and everything that is happening in technology and in the digital world, all of these are essentially computer programs which are actually doing a lot of these particular things. In which particular case, who does the company, who does the government actually go and arrest? Do they basically arrest the bot, or they arrest the bot owner?
Whoever is benefiting from it.
Business? So it's important.
Whoever is the beneficial, just like in normal advertising, you will catch the person who's benefiting from the wrong ad. You will go after the person who's benefiting from the fake review.
Okay, this has been an interesting chat. I hope our viewers have taken away something from it.
Whether using
bats,
whether using bots or artificial intelligence. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, we leave it there. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining us, all of you. K. Ganesh, Deepak Sahani, Shri Parthasarthi, and of course, Dr. Sriram Khanna. Thank you all for this very interesting chat. I'm wrapping Urban Debate with that.